Hello and welcome to another tech article. In today's article, I'm going to start what will become a series. I'm not sure how big this series will be. It will either be 2 or 3 parts, I think, depending on how they naturally fall. It might go into a fourth, but I think I can condense it into 3 parts. And depending on how big part 2 is, I might make it a two-parter. It also depends where they logically split in terms of usefulness. So with Hookshaw now being in the WordPress repo, I wanted to create a sandbox for people to be able to test Hookshaw. And I already have a sandbox on really useful plugins so that you can test response for short forms, response for bit forms. But it's using my InstaWP account, and already it's quite busy. The limits of my account haven't ever been exceeded, but I do get close when I'm testing things myself, and people are splitting up those sandboxes. So I was originally going to use GridPane to do this, and I've attempted to do this a couple of times with GridPane, um, but it's not really worked because of GridPane's API. It's not really fit for purpose to do this sort of thing. It's not really fit for creating sites remotely. It requires too many integrations, and it has too low a level of giving you too many requests. So I had to come up with a new idea. And given that how we've done this for years, and I've never actually created one, I stumbled across Multisite. Now I've tested plugins and they've used multi-sites for years, and I've never really looked into it. I've had no need to use it, and I thought, do you know what? I can probably work this. So I sort of created myself a brief of what I wanted to do, and this is all very new. I haven't planned any of this out yet, and I've had a look through the GridPane docs because I knew I'd seen something when I was going through the GridPane docs years ago about multi-site, and I could see that it was possible. So I came up with some bullet points and some lists of what I wanted to be able to achieve, and this is what this series will be about, really. So I wanted a multi-site WordPress installation. It was going to go onto a dedicated VPS within GridPane. It will do nothing but host these sandboxes. It will become my sandbox items. I've settled on a 4-core 5 gig box, so that's already in my GridPane account, and I've actually already installed the base domain for that here. So here it is here, and we're going to start with Hookshaw. And as you can see, it's a normal WordPress site currently, and we'll go to GridPane, and you'll see that it's here as an item. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set up the first few items on this list. So we're going to set up our multi-site. We're going to set it to subdomain. We're going to make sure that it uses Wildcard, SSL, and DNS. All of this, in my case, is going to be handled by GridPane. And in the later videos, we will work out how to disable email notifications, which I might actually do in this video because we're setting up the actual multi-site in this video. So this will be a GridPane multi-site video setup. So if you don't need to work on GridPane, you can probably skip this and head straight to the next video in the series if it's already been published. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head over to GridPane, and I'm going to select this site, which is this one here, and we're going to get this site pop up here. And what we're going to do for the first instance is go to multi-site settings, and we are going to go to subdomain multisite, because if we go back to our reference material, which I'll do in a second, we wanted to use subdomain. So I'm going to push OK on this, and that's going to start installing that. And while it does that, I'm just going to head back to our page. So we needed it to be subdomain. We want a subdomain multisite, one subdomain per plugin. So in this case, Hookshaw, with second level subdomains for that. So for example, test site 1.hookshaw.wpdemo.uk. So I'm going to head back to GridPane now, and we've set up our multi-site, and that should have finished. The next thing we need to do is enable Wildcard DNS and Wildcard SSL. Now, if I head over to Cloudflare, you'll see currently we've just got Hookshaw installed here, and if I refresh this page, we should, once it comes back in, we should be good, and as you see, there's nothing there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head back to GridPane. I'm going to go to domains, and then to turn this into a wildcard domain, all we need to do is click here. So what this will now do is, behind the scenes, this is going to run the scripts. Now this is going to delete the SSL certificate, delete the way it works, and it's going to install a new wildcard SSL for that subdomain. So we are now doing all of that in the background, and it will take a minute or so to do that. So while it does that, I'm going to head back to our brief. So as you can see, this is relatively easy to do, and we'll have a quick look around WordPress in a second when that is all done, and hopefully that's working pretty quickly. If I head back to Cloudflare now, and if I restart this, with a bit of luck, we now have a wildcard SSL register. We do. You see, there is now a new SSL, and there's a couple of Acme challenges in place for that SSL certificate, which is currently running on GridPane. I'm going to head back to GridPane. It's still installing. So it's passed its dry run, so now it's actually going to install that certificate for us. I'm going to head back to our information, and this is pretty much what we're going to do in this first video. And this will give us a fully working multi-site setup on GridPane. So when this is installed, I will head back over to this installation, which, as you can see, is now telling me we've expired our session. And the reason our session has expired is because we are redoing the SSL certificate, and we've also turned it into a multi-site. I'm going to head back to GridPane. It's still not finished on that. So I'm going to pause this video for a minute so that I'm not having to fill the space. Just like that. Yeah, that's installed our wildcard setup. So I'm going to head back to our installation, which I've already logged into, and I'm going to refresh, and you'll now see that it's a multi-site setup. So we have our network admin site, and we have our Hookshaw WP demo domain. So the first thing I want to do is head to our network admin site, and I'm going to disable those emails, which is one of the requirements of this, and I'm going to save it. And that's our multi-site now set up. So I no longer get emails from the site to tell me when somebody creates a account or a site, and the reason for that is I'm going to use Discord to give me those notifications. So I'm going to pause this video for 1 second. I'm going to load up some emails, and then we're going to sign up for a new site via the dashboard and show you that all working. So the email's all signed up, so we should now be able to use our catch-all domains to forward to this email address. So we head back to our network site, and we're going to add a new site. And we're going to call this test1.hookshaw.wpdemo.uk, test1 in the site title. I'm going to leave it as English United States, and I'm going to put test1 at wpcode.dev, and I'm going to add that site. And almost immediately that has created that site. So if we go to users, you'll see that there is now a new user. If we go to sites, you will now see that there is a new site. So if we visit that site, we get to test1.hookshaw, and it's an available site that we can log into as we need to. So if we head over back into our network admin sites, we now see that that is all working. We have one new test user with a new site, and we have our multi-site, and we didn't have to add that to Cloudflare or do any of that. Our Cloudflare data is still here. It's all set up and working as it should. GridPane is handling the rest. And we are good to go. And that concludes this video. So we have our network set up, and we are good to go. In between this and the next video, I'm going to install our base plugins, and then we will look at how we are going to begin to automate this process. So this is video 1. Video 2 will follow shortly. Thank you for watching.